Good day, and good Friday to everybody. Welcome down. It's another edition of Tech Talk Friday, right here, wherever you're seeing us, whether it's LinkedIn, Facebook, or YouTube. Thank you for joining us. And I know it may be a bit of a duller Friday because guess what? For some districts in Selangor and now even KL, we're back in lockdown. But don't be disheartened. That's why we're here live with you online to bring some joy into your day with our beautiful faces and talk about tech today. So, welcome down. Thanks for joining us. And Tech Talk, as you know, is brought to you by Nicole. Nicole being the learning experience platform for all you learners out there. So, for those of you thinking that you want to accelerate your skill, your career, your growth, and your future, Nicole's the software to get. Go on to nicole.app and subscribe today. So, Tech Talk, every week we bring you hot topics from the world of tech. And remember, as we go through today's Tech Talk, I want to remind this to everybody because sometimes people forget. You know, you're on LinkedIn, you know, you're on Facebook. Use that comment section. Use that comment section because we will see it. And if you have any burning questions that you want to ask either me, the very thorough person I'm going to introduce in a short while, or any one of our guests this week, please drop it down in the comment section. We'll see it. We'll bring it out. Or if you have a thought, if you even have an opinion about what we're talking about, drop it in the comment section and we'll bring it out for you. All right. Now, let's bring on the other person or equal host. And now I just found out that he's a Trekkie instead of a Star Wars person, which... like this, like this. Hey, Karamjit Singh from DNA, from Digital News Asia, joining us. Karam, before you start, you have to do the cup moment. You have to do the cup thing.
No, because I'm saying we're also sharing love, not just insight, right? And maybe poor opinions, I'm not sure, angry opinions, but we're also going to start sharing love every week, man.
All right, so there, Karam starts with sharing love, and there's lips there too. So, let's see what mug appears next week. So, Karam, let's get into this, and we'll start with your topics for the week from Digital News Asia. And I think you've already mentioned this to me, and it's going to be the very first one. Let's talk about this a little bit. Mustafa Muhammad says that road to my digital success requires close federal state collaboration. See, I say my digital, only thunder all coming out.
Boom! That's a good sign. That's a beautiful omen.
So what's this story about, Karam?
So look, Mustafa Muhammad is the minister in the Prime Minister's office in charge of the economy, and he's spearheading the push for My Digital, right? On behalf, he's got a direct link with the Prime Minister being in the same office there. So he's driving it, and I thought this press release was fantastic because they've been quiet for a while. And this press release comes out the day that Mustafa actually had a briefing with all the respective states in the country, okay? And the leaders, right? Not the chief ministers, but the chief secretaries of the state, and even I think their own respective like economic planning unit heads also, right? So it's the right representation from all the states. And basically, he just gave them an update of what some of the decisions were with the National Economic Council that was held recently. Okay, it's in the article. And also just updating them on where we are with My Digital. And 3 of the states also shared their own experiences. Hey, this is what we're doing. And according to Mustafa, all the states are actually very keen and excited to share what they are doing with their own digital initiatives, which is why Mustafa's point was very important, that My Digital can only work if there is synergy and collaboration at the federal level with My Digital, with the initiatives of the respective states in the country, right? He said you're going to get alignment, you're going to get synergy, and you're going to collaborate. And it's a fantastic message. And even better, Nigesh, he said that every 3 months, there'll be a meeting. He'll chair a meeting together with, of course, Fabian Biga, who's the CEO of My Digital, with all the states, right, to discuss progress or lack of progress, to encourage each other. And I think this is a great thing. I know that Fabian hasn't come out to say he's hiring who yet in his team. He's working that out now in the background, but that will get sorted out. And all of us just need to be on the ball and need to be behind this My Digital push, because I think the minister also shared on his Facebook today, I think. I actually met up with him and have a casual, 45-minute chat. We took a picture and he shared it on his Facebook saying he met up with me and all that. So he's super keen and super eager to get this going and to push the digital agenda for the country, which he agrees is actually an economic agenda. Because as all of us know, digital is just a tool, right? But it is a powerful, powerful tool to help us accelerate and improve our ability to earn income on an individual level, for companies to be more productive, more innovative, and of course for the country. Then you filter up to the country. You normally filter down. This you filter up to the country, right? So the country become a much more competitive, digital economy. Right. So that's what his message was lah. So I think it's all of us should take a lot of heart, and I'm looking forward to the next update from him, which he says will be coming sometime right after Raya. So they're not gonna 2 weeks after Raya, let's relax and enjoy. No, this is hard at work. I know there's a big meeting 2 days after Raya, and then you'll see some things happening after that.
So Karam, I got a question for you. You've been on this trail of My Digital, and when we started off and when it all started off, you were up in arms and thinking, is this really going to happen or not?
Yeah.
So I think every time we get a My Digital news, I'm going to ask you this scale. So on a scale of 1 to 10, where do you think we are with this My Digital, and where do you think whether this is going to be successful or not? Scale of 1 to 10.
Too early to tell whether it's going to be successful, right? So many moving parts, but this announcement to me is an 8. Okay, just this as an announcement, it tells you that things are happening. But of course, where we are with My Digital, we are still at 1, right? Because we have not initiated any, and the initiatives are all there. You can download the PDF and you can look at them from page 44 onwards. You can see the national initiatives which are led by the government machinery, and then the sectoral initiatives by the private sector.
Right.
So give it time, but I think we'll move, because we are already at a certain step, right? You look at the United Nations last year came up with they have a ranking for digital economies. They do it every 2 years. Just like my Digitality 50, I can't find a copy now. Every 2 years, and a lot of metrics go into it. And the last metrics, they said that Malaysia actually moved into the countries which are in the highest bracket. So I forgot now what it's called, the high economy growth, right? Powered by digital. And I was telling Mustafa that in the 2018 survey, a report, there were 30 countries in the highest bracket. In the latest one, there are like 43 countries or 45 countries. So because every country is always moving forward, right? Keep moving forward and moving up. So if we move at a gradual pace, we're going to fall behind actually. So we're already at a certain level when this bracket. Now we need to move higher. And I pointed out Saudi Arabia. Within this highest bracket, there are four tiers within the highest bracket. We moved into the lowest of the high tier. Saudi Arabia jumped into the second highest tier. So you see, they jump too, whereas we just jump into the tier. So I use it as an example to say that everybody's moving fast, because everyone gets it that digital enables you to be more productive, more efficient, more innovative, and more competitive out there in the market.
All right. And if anything, I asked one question. You see how Karam went on this tangent. Karam, if everything fails.
You should have done like that. Karam, you're off tangent. You gotta do this and come back.
I just gotta say, if everything fails, Karam, you can be a politician. Boleh jadi, tak ada masalah. All right. So that is one, which is the pick of the week. And we've got 2 other news on DNA, which you should go and check out. One of it being Lapsar secures US 500K in seed funding. Congratulations to Lapsar. Go check out that.
That's a big seed round. Yeah, wonderful. Yeah.
Go check out that news on DNA. And another one being...
And sorry, by the way, the co-founder of Lapaza is actually going to be on our show. Tinesh Kumar said he'll join us next week, Friday, to talk about what's going to happen, okay?
All right. So Great. Okay. And one more, which you should go and check out on DNA, is MDEC Austrade boosts bilateral trade investment with AMTX. So do check out these 2 news on top of the pick of the week that Karam just spoke about. All right. Now, I think let's move into the meat of what today is going to be about. And remember, to everyone who's listening out there, the comment section is good. I'm seeing some comments coming out already. Great. Thank you, Hasnine. Yeah, he says, hi from KL. Can I have the link to the My Digital report? Sure thing. We'll drop it in on LinkedIn so they can go check it out. Great. Keep on doing this, guys. Keep on sending us comments. We love that you're part of the show, and also send us questions as you hear our guests and our discussions today. So, on to the discussion today, I have to say very close to my heart, because everyone here is engineers except for, Karam. Karam is trying to be an engineer. Engineer of words, he says. Boleh lah. Okay lah, pass lah. Equal partner, right? So
Thank
bagilah,
you,
okay?
thank you for the love. Thank you for the love.
Yes, love. So, all our guests today are engineers, but another key thing linking all of them is IoT. So, today we're really going to dive a little bit deeper into IoT, and let's bring up our very, very, very first guest, who is the CEO of Vectolabs Technology. Can we get Faizal Ali? Hey,
Hi
Faizal.
guys. Hi. Thank you
How
for
are you,
having me on the
Faizal?
show. I'm doing
You're
good.
welcome.
Thank you.
Thanks for making time for us.
My pleasure.
Great. Okay, so Kam, what do we got for Faizal?
So I mean, this story is interesting because the press release looked kind of okay, like Putrajaya Corporation. So by the way, and Faizal, you can correct me if I'm wrong. I think Putrajaya Corporation is the first privatized local authority in the whole country. Am I right, Faizal?
I think so. Yeah, they set up a little bit differently. Yeah.
Exactly. So so because of that, now the Putrajaya otherwise would have been probably under Puchong or under Dengkil local, municipal council. But no, Putrajaya Corporation is specifically created to manage Putrajaya because it's the pride of the government machinery. So you want it to be running at a different level, and it's always supposed to be like a smart kind of city also. So the smart has taken over 20 years, I think. But today, but I think recently something very important happened, and that Faizal managed to convince them that hey, they should create a IoT. I'll use the word IoT. Faizal, please feel free to correct me. Create an IoT network so that they can monitor the whole of Putrajaya. And even better is he told them, guys, you can get the pilot done for free because thanks to KJ, our Minister of Communication, Minister of Science, Technology and Innovation, there's this fund called the National Technology Sandbox, right? NTIS, National Technology Sandbox, and I think Innovation. I'll need your help here. National Technology and Innovation Sandbox, okay? So there's funding there available. You can do your pilot, and that convinced Putrajaya Corporation, hey, really, the government's going to help fund our pilot. Okay, let's do it. So, Nigesh, even more important for all those listening is that with Faizal, despite being in the driver's seat, okay, they're going to use his platform, his technology, right, to roll out the IoT in the sense of smart lighting. Okay, there's a lot of applications you can do. This is in smart lighting. Faizal said, okay, we're going to do this. Let's build. When you build out your whole network in Putrajaya, let's build this network with transparent KPIs and rules and measurements also, right? So that in future, anyone else comes with certain applications you want to do. Let's say you want to wire all the playgrounds and make sure you can monitor the swings and all that, right? Anything dangerous about to fall apart, that those vendors don't have to create a standalone IoT network. Okay, they will use this one network, and we all plug into that. And I thought that was great. But then I thought, hey, everyone else can compete then to do those services. Why didn't you just create your own network, right? Where only you control it and you know what your hardware is to optimize for your network. And Faizal told me, no, Karam, that approach has failed in this country. We don't want to do that. Open up, let everyone be able to come onto the network easily and quickly, and then we compete at that level, at the level of the application. And I thought, wow, it's so interesting for a Malaysian entrepreneur to have that long-term view. So Faizal, share with us, in your own words and much more eloquently than me, why you took this view and how do you think it can help the ecosystem and, of course, help Vectolabs?
Sure, thank you. I don't think I can be more eloquent than Karam, but I'll try and explain. So, guys like us, the IoT solution providers, when you talk about smart city, one of the first things you have to solve is, how do you connect your device to the network, right? So no matter what you make, you need to connect it to the device, right? So the problem I would run into, no matter what city I go to, so if I go to Penang or if I go to Ipoh, I say, hey, buy my street lights. Yeah, or Johor, anywhere. It makes sense. The ROI makes sense, except for that I have to pay for the infrastructure. And my point is, if I build an infrastructure and a LoRa infrastructure, and the only thing on it is the street light, that's a white elephant, right? Even in my best case scenario, it's a white elephant. You don't want to have a network only for my street lights. And I'm not the only guy making street lights, right? So
correct.
there's other guys making streetlights too. So, government, the procurement process they do have transparency, right? They have to go through tenders, right? So you can't set up a situation where you can only buy from one vendor, right? So until you solve those problems, nobody's selling anything. Not me, not my competitor, nobody, right? So what the cities need is a framework, right? A framework that is fair and open. And all of us, the solution provider, we know the rules of engagement, right? We know how to design devices that meets the city needs, and we have to. So myself and a couple of guys in the LoRa, even my competitors, we sat together and say, hey, let's come up with this framework, right? And we're gonna make it published, and hopefully other cities will adopt it too. Now, the nice thing about this framework is gonna get live run, right? So we're gonna have this framework and we're gonna test it in Putrajaya. We go, oh, this doesn't work. We gotta change this. We gotta change that. Most framework you kind of do it and then you test it, right? And that's what kind of we're doing, but we kind of do it in parallel.
So it's you and your competitors lah. So this is interesting, and Nigesh, they've all come together. They said that look, so make sure that the highway speaks a universal language for all of us, so that not each of us is building a highway. Because like for those who still don't understand, let's say he's doing street lights and somebody else is doing roads. Maybe they say like we want to know when the road is about ready to buckle or sinkhole, right? So you can put sensors. And if you get that contract, then you got to build your own LoRa network just to monitor the road. So you got LoRa network for roads, monitoring for network for lights, maybe another network for drains if the drains are clogged. So all these multiple networks, you don't want that. So that's why these guys have come together and said, let's just build one network that's transparent so everyone knows how to connect to that network. And it's a beautiful thing. It's about time. It's long overdue. So maybe now, thanks to this, right, you'll see a lot more people active, and the ecosystem for smart cities become much more buzzing, right? And more and maybe even the guys who's waiting there, right? Our young engineer, from APU, maybe he then say, hey, I want to go out and solve a problem there, right? When he graduates, comes out. So that's a great thing that you've done, Faizal, and credit to your peers also. I see you're sharing credit. You guys came together, and this is really good. So how does this benefit? I know for Putrajaya Corporation, credit to them also, because to do this, Nigesh, they have to say that, okay, we agree that we will manage the network ourselves. Because normally, whoever you partner with, Nigesh, let's say you are from Parebunta and Parebunta does something, they say, Nigesh, you manage the network. The local authority doesn't want to manage it. Then it becomes everybody manage their network individually. It's a mess. So credit to Putrajaya Corporation. How did you get them to see the value in this, Faizal?
I'll be honest, Putrajaya, it's a bit unique. They actually have a smart city division. So they're pretty forward thinking, there wasn't a lot of convincing, I just showed them the facts and it made sense to them, right? So
well, you're being kind lah, because they've been around for 20 years. They were supposed to be a smart city from way long ago. So okay, let me not be so kind. I think they're still at least a decade behind. This should have been done way long ago, because it's so logical, right, Nigesh? Anyone listening say, yeah, that makes sense, right? Why build multiple networks and each one vendor only is able to do that, and he wants to control that small market? It's silly. So
well, in their defense, they can't do it alone, right? So you can't just have the government doing it without the public sector kind of helping them out, right?
Yep.
When I say they're managing it, I'm not saying they're doing it with no help, but they have the final say, right? They say this device comes in based on the criteria that we already predefined, not because Faisal doesn't like that guy, right? So just like I can't do it myself, they can't do it themselves too. So it does take both sides, right? The public and the government, we have to kind of work together, to make stuff like this happen.
Yeah. So just to understand, the pilot is in one precinct in Putrajaya, and they're going to roll it out to it. So entire Putrajaya, by I don't know what time frame, all the lights will be smart lights. But because they're divided by precinct, there's a chance, Faisal, that they may say that for precinct 1 and 2, we're going to open it up to another vendor. So you're not a shoe-in to get the smart lighting contract there, right? But you are happy with that. You're happy to compete in the market, right? Because that's entrepreneurship, correct?
That's how it should be, right? Putrajaya has 30,000 lights. I'll win some, I'll lose some. But hopefully, if the model in Putrajaya works, then, the other guys, the Ipoh, the Malacca, those guys follow suit, then I have opportunities there, right?
Correct.
And to be honest, if you're making smart city devices, you can't just think about Malaysia, right? You have to think about ASEAN, right?
Okay.
So having the more installation sites you have, the more credible you are, right? So that's the
Totally.
goal, right?
Okay.
So
So
maybe
just a quick one. Sorry, Nikesh. Go ahead. You got a question? Yeah.
yeah, because I've got a few actually, but what you're talking about as a fellow engineer, what comes to mind is we talk about universal standards that
Exactly.
allows people to do things, and the simplest universal standard I can point to is the Phillips screw, which is a universal standard, which
Yeah.
now everybody uses that exact same thing and eases actually a lot of the funny thing is people thought that when you create a universal standard, it'll stifle innovation, it'll stifle competition. Actually, it did the complete reverse because now the
Exactly.
most simplest thing is out of the way and you can actually focus on the value add. And I think that's the key value that you're pointing at here, that once there's a universal standard which takes away that base thing that you worry about, that foundation that you worry about, then you start adding in all these other things and you create a whole plethora and environment and ecosystem of IoT. And probably my first question is this: by adopting such a universal standard, now we're just talking about streetlights, what
Right.
other potential things that can come up in a smart IoT city? What do you think? What's the vision?
Well, I can go on, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The parking sensors, right? Right now, you have no idea. If you go to precinct 15, right? It's funny. If you go to precinct 15, there's always people double parking. What they don't know, if you're visiting, you don't know. There's a lot of parking right behind there. There's a lot of parking. You don't have to double park.
Yeah.
You just don't know where it is,
Yeah.
right? So that's one issue. If we start to separate waste at source, the guy comes in, they open the trash, oh, it's empty, it's empty, it's empty. It's not really an efficient way of doing things, right? Water sensor, meter sensor. You're still sending. It's 2021. Somebody's actually going out and reading it. It doesn't make sense. So definitely, cities are also like businesses. They have to compete. They have to be more efficient. They have limited budgets.
Yeah.
If you look at city, they're a corporation, right? So yeah, there's. And to your point, I'm a small company. I can't make all these things. I can make one good thing, maybe two, three good things a year maximum, right? So having all these other guys adds value to the network, right? If I'm the only guy in the network, there's no value, a little value. But once other stuff comes in, then the value of the network goes high. Then the other cities like, hey, I should do that too, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, Nikesh, let me go to. I know we got because I want to ask him, Faizal, about. So Faizal, you were actually Faizal after graduating, he stayed on in the US for like almost 20 years, right? Working and living there and getting married, but to a Malaysian, right? And then before finally coming back in 2016, and he was already an entrepreneur even while working for somebody. He found a market opportunity and he did very well. And that's when he realized that Malaysia actually had a good engineering base of making hardware, which is what also gave him the confidence to come back and to become an entrepreneur here and not a salaried employee. So and I think he was telling me that we've actually got good engineering talent coming out from our university. So tell us just quickly what your own company does also, right? Because people would have not have heard of your company also.
Okay, so Vectolabs, we make so there's two parts of our business, right? We have our smart. That's the big bet. We have our big bet, which is the smart street light. So hopefully the big bet pays off. But until the big bet pays off, we do enterprise IoT, right? So enterprise IoT is basically, a lot of the big JLCs and enterprise, they have a subgroup that's focused on innovating for the larger group. So for them to develop things, they need to iterate really fast. So we have micro manufacturing, which is really, they can prototype quickly, right? Fail fast, like an agile system, right? So rather than months, I can build, 5 times, in 1 month, and I can build 5 at a time, 10 at a time. So until you're ready to go to contract manufacturing, you work with me. Then when you're ready to scale, then you go to contract manufacturing.
Okay, but doesn't when you talk microman, doesn't your 3D printing now help you to do that quick iteration, right? To build a prototype fast? Because they can afford your 50,000 ringgit, enterprise level 3D printer, right? No big deal, because they time.
It's the PCB. 3D printers are pretty ubiquitous. It's the PCB and the firmware part and the wireless
PCB level
communication. But
lah.
that's the part where you need some expertise, right?
Okay, understood. So it's interesting. So Nigesh, she's making the big bet on on these IoT sensors,
Yeah.
for smart cities. But
Yeah.
while waiting for that to play out, you got to pay the bills, right? So is
Yeah.
this innovation consultant for companies here, like enterprise IoT, but still in the IoT space? Because that's
Yeah.
why it's cut his teeth in, being a
Yeah.
power engineer also.
So Faisal, I got probably one last question, and because you created kind of the best segue to the next bunch of people we want to talk to, actually, and we're
Okay.
going to get you into that conversation in a while. But this last question to you, you're saying the big bat is the sort of what you're piloting in Putrajaya right now. That's the big bet. So maybe I like to ask this looking glass kind of questions. Challenges that you're going to face in cities that are not smart cities. Like example, I live in Petaling Jaya. So Petaling Jaya is a old city. It's been here since what, the 30s or so. It's the very first satellite city in the country. So how are you going to convince older municipals like this to adopt these kind of things? How are you going to get them to understand the benefits? Like you laid out the benefits right there. How are you going to get them to to understand the benefits and resist against that whole wanting to change?
Usually it's always money, right? I mean, when it comes to it, at the end of the day, you spend this much money and this much resource now. With this one, you spend less money. And usually that's how, that's the business case. You got to come up with. So if you just say change just because it's IoT, that doesn't work, right? So
Right.
I tell my guests, we're not an IoT company, right?
Right.
We make smart street light that happens to use IoT. But at the end of the day, you got to solve someone's problem, right? Yeah.
Yeah, and that's a very strong statement right there. And to everybody who's listening, especially if you're an entrepreneur, you're starting up a company, you've got to solve a problem. Think of solving a problem and what that problem really is, and if that problem really hurts for the person that you're trying to solve the problem for. All right.
So
So, Faisal, thank you so much for that. Don't go anywhere. We're going to bring you back again because we want your thoughts with the two gentlemen that we're going to bring up right after this. So, Faisal, stay there.
Thank
And
you.
right now, let's bring up, still in the IoT space, and maybe touching a little bit of what Faisal last mentioned, and now bringing into how they have actually won a worldwide competition here. So, ladies and gentlemen, let's bring up Dr. Lau Chee Yong, Senior Lecturer of School of Engineering. If you look at him, you think that he's a student, but no, he's actually in his 30s, late 30s. And together with him is one of the students that he mentors, Tan Jia Hao. Hi, Dr. Lau and Jia Hao. How are you guys?
Hi, Nigesh. Hi, Karan. Yeah, nice to meet you.
okay, yeah, gentlemen, sure. And then for the audience, we have actually taken Dr. Lau's fingerprints and we've checked and with IT department. You're right, he's not a student. Okay. But anyway, to get to the serious stuff, right? Look, I saw this press release and I thought this was an amazing achievement, right? A Malaysian team winning a global competition, and it's by an engineering company called Hilti. Is it a European company, Dr. Lau?
I think it's from Germany. Yeah,
Germany
but
now.
actually
Okay, fine.
but they have branch in Malaysia as well. We
Of
have
course.
visited their HQ in Malaysia before.
Nice,
Yes.
nice. Okay, so Hilti. So it's a global competition, right? So these guys beat some 200 over teams. No
200.
joke, right? Not 20, no, 200 over teams from around the world. So this was a serious competition. Full credit to you, Dr. Lau, as the mentor, and of course to the 4 students there, right? With Jia Hao being the team leader for succeeding. So let me just before I bring Jia Hao in. Was it difficult to mentor them because you had to do it remotely, or were you all doing a hybrid where you were able to meet them also, but also remotely, Dr. Lau?
Yeah, actually, this competition actually started in late 2020. It's about maybe November 2020. So
Okay.
I actually share this news with all the students, and they are one of the groups that they volunteer. They want to be part of it. So
Nice.
therefore, but during that time, they're still in the in the MCO, IMCO, CMCO, something like that. So therefore, actually, we really did a lot of like the remote. So therefore, but the things that I like about this group of students is like they are super independent. This is something really amazed me because we managed to have about maybe just only one session online to talk about, okay, what is the idea of this competition and what you should do, what are the resources that you can refer to. That's it. They are actually managed to do everything all by their own. So
Wow.
therefore, this is something that I really amazed. And also now even they have already created something that I do not understand anymore. Maybe you can revert to him
Wow.
later. Yeah. Yeah,
So
that's
no,
the
Right.
experience.
Dr. Lau, thank you for that honesty. Yeah, that's amazing, right? Because
Yeah.
you'll be tempted to take credit, right? But you're not. You're giving them full credit, and I'm sure you've done a very good job also. Being clearly, you're a selfless leader also. So credit to you also. So let's bring in our young man now, Jia Hao. I hope Google or Facebook or Amazon hasn't signed you up, because hopefully some will hire you. So Jia Hao, how are you?
I'm good. Thank you so much for having me.
No, not at all. So tell us. Apparently you guys are very independent, and I know before we spoke earlier, and you said that you were involved in robotics competition when you were in secondary school. So clearly, Nigesh, the many robotic competitions we have in school, right, in the national school system, has got great benefit, right? It teaches the kids a
Yeah.
lot more to love the world of IoT, robotics, and mechatronics, whatnot, right? To
Yeah.
be builders and creators, and then when they go to university, they're ready to take on the world. So I guess your secondary school, playing around with robotics helped you a lot, right, Jao?
This is
Correct.
where I get jealous because my secondary school, I think even for you, Karam, Kemairan Hidup, that's about it.
I was still
Not
playing
robotics.
marbles. Recess time, I was still playing marbles, sad to say.
So
But
so
okay,
maybe
Jao. So
yeah.
your team, are they all seasoned robotics? Participants like you in secondary school. How did the team come about?
So actually, right, my team it consisted of 4 members. So the one who's actually involved in robotics back in the scene was actually me and Mr. Chan Jing Hong. So we are both actually robotic season participants from years ago. And the other
Enthusiast.
two
Okay.
were just like they are just take part in IoT, and another member was kind of new to the scene. So when we came about with the team, we actually started off with Mr. Daniel Lim Junyi. He came about looking for this competition. He asked that he wanted a leader, so he wanted someone who is experienced in this field. So he came to me to ask if I could lead the team, and from there on, we actually went on to looking for the rest of the members. And what came to my mind when I wanted my members was actually someone who's actually capable in software and hardware. So we started screening through our classmates, especially our classmates, and we came about with Mr. Chan and Mr. Lim Nichekai. So these two were actually, in my opinion, one of the few more capable in the technical side as well as the software side among our batches. So we decided to choose them to take part in the competition together.
Okay,
All right.
understood.
And
So,
so
were you
I've got a
worried
question.
that because some global universities, right, they are sending teams? Were you all worried to say, "Ayo, NUS or University of Korea"?
So
Before that,
yeah,
before that, I've got this burning question I got to ask because Dr. Lau kind of said it. So, what is this thing that you created that now even he doesn't know what it is anymore?
oh,
It's got a mind of its own, man. Machine learning, AI.
so what happened is actually we actually wanted to create an asset management system for a warehouse,
Okay.
for contract side, but we based on how the warehouse system works. And we actually have a few alternatives. We will choose between RFID or Bluetooth or maybe other forms of NFCs. So we came about using RFID one because it's cheap. It's very, very cheap. And
Okay.
also it's one of the few only resources we have on hand because we are not given we are students, you see, we don't have like the access to the best equipment or the best items in the world. And we
Yep,
can't
yep.
afford to purchase like a 1,000 ringgit Bluetooth active tag. So definitely we have to make use of what we have, and we settled for RFID. And the hardware part is honestly, in my opinion, the easier part because hardware is just connecting wiring and all.
Right.
The difficult part is actually connecting hardware and software together. So comes
Yeah,
IoT.
yeah, of course.
So how we actually connect the RFID system to the cloud, and we are going through many different kind of cloud-based systems. We're going to Mozilla SQL, we went to Firebase, and went to Google. And it turns out that because as always resources, we decided to settle for Google Sheets as or Excel as a way to actually store the data because it's free, and he has to learn how to use it. Although it's not the easiest one, but it's definitely the one that we have to use at the moment. So we are being resourceful about it.
Okay.
Right. Before you answer Karam's question just now about how did you feel about being one of the 200 and then your feeling of then now winning, because I come from my engineering background, I've actually experienced what exactly you're talking about. I was previously working in Texas Instruments, and my role was as equipment manager. So when you said about stocking, when you said about inventory tracking, when you said about RFID tagging for inventory, that was something I was exploring back in 2010. That was when I was exploring it. There was a system. So how is it, whatever you guys created, different from what maybe have existed in 2010?
first and foremost, maybe in terms of speed, we actually make things much more easily accessible and fast, you see. Because back then, May 2010, the systems are not as fast or as capable as what we have now. So first and foremost, in terms of performance, we definitely probably can put it in simple words, trash back then in 2010. And other than that, it's probably also accessibility. You see, how easy is it for us, for anyone in the construction side to actually access the cloud-based information? So that's how I think about what makes us different from the one in 2010.
Which I would agree with you, because my experience with when we were resourcing, we never ended up implementing it, is because one, it was overly bulky, because it required hardware itself to actually be placed in, and bulky hardware to be placed in, enough the RFID tags themselves. The other thing is the software themselves are convoluted, expensive, and you said that you just use Excel.
Yes, correct.
And that's amazing to me. So maybe to Karam's question about the competition itself, like you were one of the 200. How did it feel?
So first and foremost, we found out that there's actually 200 teams during the semi-finals, because at first we thought it's just a local competition with maybe 60 teams. So this is what our initial thought was, and we were pretty shocked when the moderator told us that you guys know what you guys are. You guys are pretty good, because you guys actually literally beat 140 teams from 200 to like 60 for the first round. And it took us really hard, because it's like we knew what kind of weight we carry as a team right now. And in terms of how much it fears us, yes, it really do make us scared, because 43 countries, that's a lot. And during the finals, when we were looking through the finalist list, we found out that one of the teams are actually a group of master holders from Switzerland.
Oh, so unfair, man. So unfair.
Wow.
So we were like 2021 this year, and we're fighting against people who are like 29.
Wow.
And in Switzerland, their home country, they're native to there compared to us. So definitely, it really scared us in that sense.
No, but I guess it motivated you all to work harder. Sometimes fear is a great motivator, right? So you all rose, instead of freezing and saying, guys, let's not put in so much effort, sure lose one. But you all actually double down, right? And say, guys, let's kick ass, man. So, right? Carry the Malaysian flag or whatever. And so, look, can you talk about the role Dr. Lau played? Because I don't know whether he's being very modest or what. How was he helpful to you all?
Oh, the Dr. Lau helped us a lot during the prelims phase, because we actually have three stages: the preliminaries, the semi-finals, and the finals. At the moment, Dr. Lau really contributed to us a lot during the preliminaries and the semi-finals. So literally, he set the foundation for us, for our team moving forward. So what happened is that when we created our idea, we first came out with this competition, we decided to pitch many different kind of ideas. And we're thinking about which one can meet the market demand, which one is suitable, which one is more useful. And it's definitely a challenge for us, because we are not in the market before. We never experienced, we never seen what it's like, what's the requirement of the market. And the person who we feel that can help us a lot is Dr. Lau. So Dr. Lau, he has experience and all. And he has a pretty close relationship with us. So he really helped us a lot by giving us constructive criticism from the start to the end of what we can improve, what we should cut out, what's necessary, what's not. So Dr. Lau really played a huge role in laying the foundation for the beginning of the competition.
Good. I'm glad. Congratulations, Dr. Lau. Thank you. And then I think you're going to be very busy with subsequent competitions, right? You set the bar high for APU now, man. Paramdeep and Paramdeep going to come to you and say, okay, man, let's prepare for next year's tournament, because you're the incumbents now. But fantastic. So obviously, it's a great learning experience for all of you also, right, Jiao?
Yes.
And I think I saw a comment from you. You said that now you're looking to the next level already. So what do you mean by the next level? Because you're still a third-year student next year. So I guess you can also be an inspiration and a motivator to next year's team. But on a professional level, you're also looking for internships or whatever, right? And who you want to do your internship with next year, right? So it's like everything is open for you and your core teammates, right? I mean, you can take your pick, which is fantastic. So all the hard work has proved worthwhile.
So to put it simple, I have options.
Yeah. Look at that, lah.
That's a good thing. Good feeling.
Question, that's pretty simple. I got options. I got to learn how to ask questions. Like you answer questions, man.
Maybe let me throw this question to Dr. Lau before we bring Faizal back in, right?
Yes.
And the question is even the title of your set, which is Jiao kind of mentioned that what he really valued from you. That is, I think the word here is applied engineering, because you kind of knew what the market required. So that gave guidance to Jiao and team to pick that project, which is really going to bring value to everyone else. So in your mind, in your mind,
Mm.
as you interact with other students, other engineering students, those especially who are now going into this digital market, as Karam mentioned at the start of the show, digital is going to be a great enabler of the economy, right? So what do you think is the ingredients to build world leading students and world leading engineering teams?
In my opinion, because I have seen a lot of students, because I have seen some students, they sort of like looking for me like in every 2 days because they need to ask a lot of questions. They're also the kind of student which is like Jahao and all them. It's like you just give them one instruction, they can make it well for you. Okay, so therefore I do see such a difference between these two different group of students. So therefore, what I noticed that they are, for example, student like Jahao, right? They are actually resourceful. They are actually like fast thinker. Okay, so therefore they really know that what is the objective that the for example the assignment or any project is being given to them, and they know how to achieve them. They know how to find the solution. So therefore, if you ask me about what should be the core value that to become like a successful student, maybe like Jahao, so I would say that it's like the resourcefulness. It's like
Resourcefulness.
do not really depend on whatever lecturers is saying. You don't jot down every word he say, but it's like you use your own mind on thinking in order to formulate the solution to your problems. Yes.
Right. Thank you for
Yeah.
that. So good
If I
message
can
there.
find it, maybe I know a lot of MNC experts tell me that intellectual curiosity, they like to use the word intellectual. So students must have intellectual curiosity. Also, us
Yes.
working professionals also. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with
Yes.
that. Working professional as well. Okay, so let's bring in Faizal back again,
Yep.
right? Faizal, all right.
Hi.
And Karam, maybe you've got a question for Faizal, closing
Thanks
question before.
for staying on a bit, Faizal. I know you need to go soon, but look, listening to them and what Jiahao is saying, and his faculty member is a professor, is not professor, a senior lecturer is saying, anything strikes you about your own experience with engineering talent in this country?
I worked a long time in the US and I worked my way up as a manager. So I had the opportunity to interview, the students in the US and also in Malaysia. So fundamentally, actually the Malaysian students are really, really good, right? Have good fundamentals.
Really good, huh?
Yeah, but the issue that I see, what I saw that I got that a lot of the young guys didn't get is the first few years when you work, I actually learned how to translate what I learned in school into trying to make a product, right? So a lot of engineers here are underemployed, right? They have the good fundamentals, but then they get kind of BS jobs. They don't really get the so. So I think we kind of I was telling Karam yesterday, we kind of let industry off the hook, right? The industry is responsible to kind of train students too, not just the university. But universities kind of gives them the good fundamentals, and then the industry got to take them to the next level.
Yeah.
Right?
And I agree with that thought actually, like being for my experience as well, though I'm not doing engineering anymore, but the fundamentals that I got going into, and I was lucky, I went into Texas Instruments, which is a company which thankfully the culture was, even though the whole sink and swim culture where I'm going to drop you here, you're going to figure it out for yourself, that actually trained the resourcefulness. And Faisal, exactly what you mentioned. When we go to school in engineering, you learn so many things. I remember like having to learn thermodynamics, and the book was like that thick, right? And I mean, having to go through that whole thing. And not necessarily you're going to use everything, but the key thing is how do you apply them in real world to solve problems, right?
And I think one interesting for Jiahao, I think you should talk to Faizal also later, because when we were talking yesterday, he was saying that if you join big companies, your Intels or Motorola's in Penang or Malacca or Kulim High Tech Park, they give you very, very niche roles. You're doing this for a few years and then you may be promoted. So whereas if you join a small company, you're going to be learning so many things, you're exposed to so many things. It's okay to break things and you learn much faster. So that's something to look out for also. And I think he had that path also. So that was helpful to him. So there's good to joining big companies, but then you end up, before you realize it, 20 years is gone and you every time jump from one specific role to another, and without experiencing the ups and downs of failure, or wow, this is way more difficult than I thought, and forcing you, right, to think and be creative. So there's something there lah. So obviously, I think you and your team are cut from a different cloth, but I expect a lot more Malaysians are like you. And I guess if there's a final point, Nigesh, I love what Jahao said, that they thought it was a local competition, Faizal, and we just created something, and lo and behold, they when they got to the semi-final, they had beaten 160 teams. Right? So I think I know in Malaysia we like to criticize or everything in Malaysia, but our base level education, I think is still quite decent and quite competitive. Even when you take all 200 countries in the world, right? I think we're still quite there, and these guys are proof of it also, right?
Yeah,
and then of course, when you go to university, you go to a top university like APU, right? They further sharpen you and hone you, so that's great.
Yeah, and I like to use Jehao's quote. I've got options. So good on you guys. So we've reached time. Thank you so much to Faizal. Thank you for what you shared with us and the endeavors that you're doing in the Putrajaya. I'm really looking forward to that actually. Like what this base is going to create, the possibility that it's going to create.
No,
Dr.
and
Lau,
looking forward to other cities in Malaysia, right? Municipals, right? To take the cue from Putrajaya. Hey, that's actually a smart thing to do, but the onus is said we must own and manage the network ourselves, right? If you take that responsibility, then fantastic. Everyone else competing at the application level, right? Wonderful.
And who knows, maybe Dr. Lau here is going to discover some students or like people like Jia is going to come around and take this opportunity and create something completely mind-boggling all together. So Dr. Lau and Jia as well, thank you so much for joining us on this Friday. And to everybody out there, thank you so much for joining us on Tech Talk. So a few things before we sort of leave you. One is, remember, drop by Digital News Asia. You can check out actually the releases both on what Faizal is doing with Vectolabs and Putrajaya, and also the story on what APU has done together. Dr. Lau and also Jia and the team have done with this Hilti competition. Go check that out. The other thing is, of course, the show is brought to you by Nicole. And if you want your Nicole at a 30% discount, there's a little scroll at the bottom which gives you a promo code, which is Roshan T Lead 30. Use that promo code, go on to nicole.app, and you can get it at 30% discount and start learning right now. And importantly, share the knowledge to everybody. So as a final note, I'd like to say to everybody here, stay safe. Stay safe.
Yeah.
I know it's a MCO period right now, but I think we'll get through this one way or another. We'll get through this. Stay safe. And especially to Faizal, and of course to all of us, since we're all Malaysians, Selamat Hari Raya. Selamat Hari Raya. We won't be seeing you. We won't be seeing you like really soon, but want to wish you Selamat Hari Raya. And to Faizal, salam berbuka puasa after this.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
And to all our listeners out there, take care. Salam Hari Raya to everybody. Salam berbuka puasa, and we'll catch you real soon, which is actually next week. So see you, everybody. Take care. Bye bye.
See ya.